Thank you, Mr. Chairman, Ranking Member, for holding this, what is a very important hearing, and thank you for being here, Chief Moore. Montana, we rely on access to our national forest to help drive a $7 billion outdoor recreation economy. It is critically important because it employs a lot of people. I'm in agriculture, and I am proud of the fact that agriculture is the number one industry, but it could be argued, and pretty effectively, quite frankly, the outdoor recreation is the number one issue, and our public lands rely on that. Our forests, our watersheds, the collaborative relationships with your agency, with partners, and the responsibility to manage timber drive the economy of many towns in Montana. And we rely, our communities rely on your agency to protect watersheds, shield them from the worst impacts of wildfire. And I do look forward to hearing how the Forest Service is going to do that. But I want to talk a little bit about categorical exclusions for a second. How do you see, Congress gave you categorical exclusions, how do you see the Forest Service using those?
We're using them quite extensively, Senator.
Okay, for
A range of projects, whether it's primarily within the timber arena. We're certainly using categorical exclusions there. We also have the ability to look at, particularly where we have the emergency landscapes, to use some of the emergency authorities that has been granted to us. So the Secretary has given me the authority as chief to look at using the emergency authorities on projects within those high fire sheds.
So I would say by your description you gave right now, that would be congressional intent. That's how I believe categorical exclusions should be used too. Unfortunately, and I do say unfortunately with the strongest of terms, a categorical exclusion was used not to cut trees or not to prevent forest fires, but to allow a corporation to set up in our forested lands, in our national forests, a facility that would include a lot of potential devastating impacts. And it was done using a categorical exclusion, which means no public input. Could you tell me why that was done that way?
Well, categorical exclusion doesn't mean there's no public input. Categorical exclusion means that generally the issues are not of a significant nature to warrant an environmental assessment, an EA, or a environmental impact statement.
Very good point. They didn't think it would have to have an environmental impact and what criteria did they use on that to allow a corporation to come into Montana to set up and this was in the Sealy area, to set up a huge recreation resort. And I can tell you unequivocally, the people were not heard and decisions were made by the Forest Service, by folks on the ground, without taking public input. And if the people wouldn't have stood up and said, foul, this is baloney, this project would have been built using a categorical exclusion, by the way, that was meant for cutting trees, not for recreational purposes. At least that's why I believe a categorical exclusion was put in.
So, Senator, I will look into this and get back with you, but you can use categorical exclusion for more than just cutting trees.
I got you.
Okay.
The question is that congressional intent? And I'm going to tell you that I would never, ever, ever have voted for a categorical exclusion for the purpose of making some corporation rich off our public lands. Never happen. Never going to happen. But if you want to use it to protect the community due to wildfire, now that's why you have a categorical exclusion. And that's the point I'm trying to make here, is that I think, I'll be honest with you, I'm not saying it was you, but you're the boss, so you got to take the heat for everybody below you. But I think somebody said they found a loophole here and they cut a deal. And the government should never be cutting a deal. They should be listening to the people on the ground, because it's really important, especially in a state like Montana, where our national forests are so critically important to our economy in a number of different ways, both recreation and through wood products. And so I want you to go out and find out. This has been something that has given government a bad name. And it's in the Forest Service's lap, and folks need to step up and say, look, and I think they have, but not without, it would never happen without incredible public input, letters to the editor, town hall public meetings, where, by the way, Democrats, Republicans, Independent, you did a great, I mean, the Forest Service did a great job uniting these folks, which is good. We've got too much division in this country, but this isn't how we should be doing it, okay? And that's the point I'm trying to make. So I appreciate you. Look into this, hold people accountable, make sure that the folks that are on the ground are listening to people on the ground, because it's really important.